Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media. Melo Media. Melo Media. Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media. Melo Media. Melo Media.
Hi everyone, this is Habeenzu, aka The Ghost. Welcome to Melo Motor Show. Today we're going to talk about some of the common weaknesses that you find, especially if you own a VW Golf 6. So we are going to talk about the weaknesses that you are likely to have with this vehicle. As we know, each vehicle has got its own inherent problems, and today, this show, we are talking about the weaknesses. Okay, the first thing that we are going to talk about on the Golf 5 EA888 engine is the PCV valve. Now, this PCV valve basically is what manages your blow-by gases. You know the way the piston is arranged, the piston has got the piston rings that have got a gap on it. Now, during the compression stroke, and especially the power stroke, you're going to find that those gases, when they expand, they are going to escape through the piston rings and find their way into the crankcase. Now, it's a job of the PCV valve to extract those gases so that they do not build up in the crankcase. Now, when that PCV valve, this PCV valve fails, you're going to have problems, especially when you diagnose your vehicle. You're going to have the error codes that is saying it's running lean or sometimes misfire. And also, you're going to find that when this is not sorted out, you're going to have a big challenge, which leads to another issue of the rear main seal. Now, the rear main seal of this vehicle, basically, that's the seal that sits by the crankshaft, separate the crankshaft or the engine and the gearbox. That seal, the way it's been designed, VW, well, I must admit on that they didn't do a good job because that seal is crap. It's not like the other vehicles like from Golf 5 going downwards that you're going to find. That seal was designed to easily fail, I can assume, because it's such a thin membrane that easily gives up. And you find replacing that seal, you know the job that goes with it. You have to remove the engine, the gearbox, and then, so it requires a lot of work. So sort out a PCV valve, and then you're going to have no problems with your rear main seal. This PCV valve, sometimes when it fails, it's going to make a whistle sound, okay? Because inside here, there's a diaphragm. Now that diaphragm, because of also the way it's been designed, it tears off. And once it tears off, you're going to, it won't be able to extract the gases from the crankcase, and hence the gases are going to build up, and which will lead to oil leakages that you do not want to have. So make sure, hey, you sort out your PCV valve. These PCV valves are there in most auto shops, especially that are specialized in European brands. You're going to find this PCV valve. I think the last time I checked, it was going to about 2,000. If you negotiate there, 1.8 somewhere, you can get the PCV valve. Okay. Next thing that I want to talk about is the chain. Okay. Now, the chain of this vehicle is another weak point. Okay. Which means your chain needs to be changed every about 100,000 kilometers. You need to change your chain. Now, why do you need to change the chain? The problem also is, again, a design flaw. Okay, so this chain, due to heat expansion and contraction, it becomes long. Okay, which means it's going to stretch. You know, metals, when they are heated, they stretch. Then when they are cold, they contract. But this thing will stretch, and once it's stretched, it will overstretch, and then it's going to lead to mistiming. Your engine is going to jump timing, and when your engine jumps timing, you know the issues that come with it, because these are interference engines. So which means you're going to find your piston hammering the valves, and when that happens, definitely you're going to change the valves. Actually, the job that we are doing on this vehicle, the pistons hammered with the valves, and we lost actually 16 valves this engine. So you see, just from a simple issue as this, which you just need to replace. So the timing chain also, apart from just being a weak thing, we're also going to talk about the tensioner. Sorry, sometimes this tensioner, especially the old type tensioner, which doesn't have this gray band. So you can check through if you have the upgraded tensioner, which VW upgraded this one. This one doesn't break easily because it's got this lock, okay? It's got a spring that locks. The previous designs never had this lock, so you find the tensioner, once it overstretches, it would come out, and then that will lead to problems. And then you find you have engine timing problems, which again will lead to the same issue now, again, hammering the valves, the balancing shafts being off balance. You know, this vehicle, the way it's been designed, the engine has been given 2 balancing shafts just to offset those noises that come from the crankshaft, so that it can run smooth. You know that 4-cylinder engines are not the smoothest engines, but if you go higher in pistons, the smoother the engine is, and the lower you go in pistons, the rougher the engine is. So to counter that, VW came up with a clever way, and then they put a balancing shaft, which are also timed in a specific way, so that they offset the noises that are coming from the crankshaft when the engine is running. The next thing that I want to talk about in relation to that is also we're going to look at the cam bridge. Now, this is the bridge that supplies actually oil, basically, to the upper part or the cylinder head of the engine. Now, this cam bridge, you find your exhaust sits on this part, and then this part, actually it's the other way around. The exhaust sits on this part, and then the inlet on this part. And there you're going to have your variable valve timing up. Now, this cam bridge has got a screen right there, an oil screen. Now, this screen usually gets damaged, and when it gets damaged, it will be sucked through the cam bridge, and then it will block the oil passages, and then you're going to have problems of oil starvation. Sometimes oil light will come on, and so forth. So if you're doing some maintenance, especially in relation to the timing, make sure that you remove the cam bridge, and that's check if that screen is there. If that screen is missing, you need to look through the hose and try to see if you can find it. If you can't find it, it's going to cause some problems to your engine. The same thing also, there's a screen on the balancing shaft. Fortunately, I didn't remove the balancing shaft to show you, but there's a screen on the balancing shaft which also fails. Sometimes if that one also goes through the system, it will also cause some oil passage blockages. Okay, next thing I want to talk about the turbocharger. Now, you know, it being a GTI, one of the hatchback performance vehicles, GTI is a turbocharged vehicle. So the problem with this vehicle, again, when it comes to the turbocharger, is again a design problem. We're going to talk mostly about design problems, okay? That's what leads to these problems. These problems that I'm talking about here, you won't find them mainly on the previous generations like 05 GTI, 04 GTI. These are so much related to this vehicle, the 05 GTI, okay? So the turbocharger, the way it has been designed, it's been cast together with the exhaust manifold, goes all the way, casted into the turbocharger port side housing. Now, on the turbocharger, there's what is called a bypass valve. Now, this bypass valve, basically what it does, it prevents the turbocharger from overspinning. So it's got a set pressure that is going to allow or to maintain. When that pressure of the boost has built so much, it is going to allow some gases to escape through and not go through the turbocharger, so that the turbocharger speed can be maintained. Now, on this vehicle, the bypass valve itself, it wears out, it breaks. Sometimes this bypass valve, this is the valve which is here, it will break. And when it breaks, you're going to have issues of low boost, which you're going to find when you do your diagnosis. The vehicle is showing that the errors that you're going to find, errors like no boost and so forth, or just boost related problems. Now, because of that problem, the design problem that that turbocharger has, immediately when you have that, you need to check the turbocharger. Mostly, you need to replace the turbocharger, or if you are lucky, you can find another housing. Maybe there's somebody who's destroyed the turbocharger and they have the housing. You can get a housing, but mostly you might not find that, so you end up replacing the entire turbocharger. Though the entire components in the turbocharger could be okay, but it could just be the bypass valve. So that, I'm sure VW, the coming generations, they have worked on that and they've sorted out that problem. But because these are the vehicles that we have, especially here in Zambia, they're the ones we are running with, we need to look out for that. Now, this problem, this engine, you're also going to find it, especially in Tiguan. So if you drive a Tiguan, these problems that I'm talking about here, they also relate to that. The next issue that I want to talk about actually is the inlet manifold. Now, being an FSI engine, this TSI engine has got also its own weaknesses. Now, with FSI engine, which means this is actually a direct injection engine, which means the valves are not placed on the manifold, and then they spray fuel in the manifold. As air is coming, it's drawn together with the fuel into the cylinder. What they have done with direct injection, the injector is actually spraying right into the cylinders and not in the manifold. Now, that brings a problem in itself, which means now that fuel that used to come and cleaning the manifold as it goes through is no longer there. It's just actually cleaning the cylinders. So now you're going to have a challenge where carbon starts building up in your intake. And when it has built up so much, you're going to find that you're going to have issues like cold misfire and some misfire, rough idle, which means there's so much carbon in your inlet, and sometimes the flaps will not be able to open and close because there's so much carbon which has built up. So what you need to do is to remove actually the inlet and then have it cleaned. You can use carb cleaner and so forth. And also on the valves, you also need to clean that so that all the carbon is cleared out. And once that carbon is cleared out, you put back everything, your engine again will be good to go. It doesn't mean it has died, it's just a carbon which has built up. So this also needs to be done at least after 100,000 kilometers. You need to have that work done. If your car hasn't had that hasn't been done, please, you need to see a specialist that can look at that vehicle, remove that manifold so that it's cleaned, and then your vehicle will have less problems in future. Next thing that I want to talk about is actually the water pump. The water pump of this engine, it's not like any other water pump, like the way in the past water pump have been cast together in the block. Now, this time they decided to put the water pump outside, just as they did on these Old Faithful ones. The water pump are outside, they are not part of the block. So that's what they've done on this 8 engine. The water pump actually has been, it's actually a separate unit, which is actually not part of the block, it's just mounted to the block. Now, if you're going to have oil leaks, which would be as a result of the PCV valve, which I talked about, that oil leak is going to seep through in between the seal of the engine block and the water pump itself. When that oil goes through in between there, your seal is going to be damaged. So the seals are going to let go, and then you're going to notice some oil leaks under wherever you park. There's some oil, sorry, not oil leaks. You're going to find especially water leaks, okay, as a result of that seal which has been damaged. Mostly you can't find those seals, which means you have to order a whole water pump. And last I checked, these water pumps are going from 3,500 all the way to about 5,000. Okay, it's one expensive water pump. Okay, so you need to make sure that you do not have oil leaks, otherwise it will affect your water pump. Okay, so those are basically some of the weaknesses that you're going to find with this engine that you need to be careful of. These are parts that you can easily replace. Some of them, of course, it's a big job to reach out to them, like the tensioner, the cam bridge, the chain, and so forth. But simple things like the PCV valve, those are easy to do because you don't really need to go deep in the engine to access them. It's just on top of the camshaft cap. So you find it there. The turbocharger is also not so difficult to access, but it's also a bit of a job to access and to remove it so that it can be inspected, and that the emitter valve, which is broken, the bypass valve, sorry, which is broken, can be worked on, or replacing the entire turbocharger, which is usually the case because it might be difficult to actually work on it. Okay, so this has been the common weaknesses that you find on the Golf 5 GTI, in particular the EA888 engine, which you find in other VW models, Golf GTI, Passat, and so forth, the Tiguan's. You're going to find these engines in Audis, basically in most brands that are labeled VW AG, that is auto group. Okay, you're going to find this engine, and those are the inherent problems that you're going to find that you need to take care of. Okay, this has been your show, Melo. Please, let's watch Melo Media shows, because there we're going to find a lot of information. Keep tuning to this program so that you can learn more about what we have in stock, about motorsports, about vehicles. We are going to have a lot of tech information. Next time, we are going to talk about how to make your car go faster. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and so forth. Stay tuned.
Thank you for watching. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Melo Media.